Hello, everyone. This is Sister Caritas Graham. This is my analysis presentation for the course Business Analysis at Franciscan University of Steubenville. As you can see, my overall topic for this presentation is unemployment in Central Illinois. The data set that I received for this project was from the U.S. Bureau of Labor, showing unemployment for the years 2000 to 2014 across the nation. It was a very large data set, which was too big at the beginning for me to look at in an orderly sequence. So I started to look at the columns and see what was most important to me. LAUS, I don't know what that means, so I took that out of my data. State code was very important. I needed that to be able to sort. Area code was not important, so I took that out as a field. Concatenated the next two columns. We had the column listing all of the areas in the country. In the next column, we had some hangover words. So I concatenated, that's a word, use the concatenate function to join those two columns to make that a little neater for me. Year was critical. I needed that very much. Month, not so much. It felt easier to me to compress it into years, average in years rather than by month. Labor force, the employment rate, as well as the unemployment numbers are important, but I didn't feel that that was where I wanted to start my presentation. I felt it would be more important to look at the unemployment rate. So I looked at state codes, the areas, the years, and the unemployment rate for my analysis. Looking at it from a big picture level, the overall average for the years 2009 to 2014, nationally, the unemployment average was 8.58. I reduced it to 6 years in order to manipulate the data more effectively. I did sort and delineate the areas that had higher unemployment than the national average. So I did conditional formatting to show me those areas using this red background. As you can see, there are approximately 15 to 20 cities that had states that had higher unemployment than the national average. The one that caught my eye, though, is state 17. That is Illinois, and theirs is at 9.71 for this 6-year total. That surprised me. I expected it to be higher, just based on everything that happens in the state of Illinois government-wise. So I decided to look at Illinois for my microanalysis. As I looked at Illinois more closely, I found that there are areas in central Illinois that have much lower unemployment rates than this state. The average for the area of central Illinois is 9.22. It is higher than the state or the national average. However, there are cities, areas that are lower. Based on this data, I chose to look at the difference between Bloomington and Champaign. The reason I did that is because of the educational environment in these two cities, as well as Peoria and Springfield. Peoria, because that's the area where the health system I work for is based out of, and Springfield is our state capital, which also has large health systems. When I looked at the areas on a line chart, I noticed that Bloomington is definitely lower than all these other areas. Springfield comes in pretty consistent with Bloomington. Champaign is slightly higher, but Peoria, you can see, is a very erratic trend line that they would have based on their unemployment. They went higher in the peak areas of the recession and they recuperated pretty well in 2012 and then came up again. So I wanted to look more closely at that as well. So my questions that I derived from my microanalysis was, number one, do areas with universities have lower employment? That specifically relates to my Champaign and Bloomington study. And number two, Peoria has a higher unemployment rate compared to Springfield, and could hospital systems be making a difference in that? I wanted to really look at that. But first, I pulled up data relating or showing the difference between Illinois unemployment rate as well as the U.S. unemployment rate. The U.S. is in orange, Illinois is in blue. As you can see, the United States overall during that time period was able to recover from the recession and drop the unemployment rate from about a 9.75 down to a 6.2, which I thought was really healthy. Illinois, however, had some pretty erratic recovery and seems to have stabilized or plateaued around 9.25, which is substantially higher than this national average given this time frame, which was 8.28. When I looked at the specific areas of Bloomington and Champaign, I did note that they have a very similar trend line in the way that they peaked and then recovered. However, Bloomington starts from a lower unemployment rate. At the beginning of this period in 2008, they were about at 5%, and Champaign actually started off closer to about 5.75. It also had a higher jump when the recession hit. There's a larger difference between these two than between these two. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't expect it because Champaign is a large university town. I expected there'd be more employment, but potentially people don't go to school as much in times of recession. So I looked again at the businesses or industries that are in these towns. Bloomington has a large healthcare system as well as the state university. They also have two financial companies located there, so Country Financial as well as State Farm. I realize State Farm is insurance, but it's also a financial area. Champaign has the University of Illinois, which is the largest university in Illinois, as well as manufacturing with Kraft Heinz and healthcare with Christie Clinic and Carle. As I looked at these, it appears as if the presence of education or higher education in these cities is not the indication for why Champaign-Urbana has higher unemployment. Although it does have industry and a large healthcare presence, where Bloomington has the financial industry as well. Next, I look at the difference between Peoria and Springfield. As you can see, Peoria started at a lower unemployment rate than Springfield at the beginning of this time period, which is 2008. 2009, they had a very rapid jump from about a 5.75 to a little over 10. And that's the year before the recession. When the recession was at its peak, they peaked at unemployment just slightly above what was in 2009. They dropped nicely and then kind of came up again. So I wanted to understand that. Springfield started with a slightly higher unemployment rate at the beginning of the time period that we studied, but did not peak anywhere near Peoria. They peaked out at a little over 8% unemployment, and then were able to drop just steadily, not anything substantial. When I look at the industries in this area, Peoria has Caterpillar, which is a very large manufacturing business nationwide. It's headquartered in Peoria. OSF Healthcare, which is a very large health organization with approximately 17,000 mission partners or employees. Keystone Steel and Wire, as well as Advanced Technology. So Peoria has a wide range of businesses that are the largest employers. Springfield, its largest employer is the state of Illinois. Springfield is the state capital, so all the state offices are there. We also have two large health systems, Memorial and St. John's, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. So my theory was that healthcare was related or was the driving force behind Peoria and Springfield's unemployment rates, but it doesn't appear to be that way. Peoria has much more manufacturing, which can be unstable at times, and Springfield has the state workers. Pulling it all up, I found data from Investopedia, an article titled Jobs with the Lowest Unemployment Rate. The findings on this were government workers actually have the lowest unemployment rate nationally. Then it's manufacturing of non-durable goods, which would be similar to Kraft Heinz, that's being produced, commodities, those things. Education and health services come in pretty equally at 3.2. Financial activities, these are things I would consider investment banking, all of those. And the self-employed workers and information technology jobs. Based on this data, I answered my two questions that I had in the beginning. So the first one was related to Bloomington and Champaign. And the question was, do large universities contribute to lower unemployment rates? It does appear, yes, that they do. The other thing that I found with Bloomington is there are financial activities going on there, which potentially could contribute to a lower unemployment rate, as they are basically, their largest industries are manufacturing, health services, and financial activities. The city of Champaign-Urbana, its largest employer is the University of Illinois, so it comes right in the middle. They also have some manufacturing and not much financial, so they did have a higher unemployment rate. Second question was, I was looking at Springfield and Peoria, comparing their healthcare systems to see if healthcare alone would contribute to their lower unemployment rate. I don't necessarily know that that's true, because if you look, education and health services is only at 3.2%, but government workers come in at 2.1% unemployment. And if you remember, the state of Illinois is the capital, therefore there are a substantial number of government workers, and then they have health services. Peoria has a large health facility in its city. Manufacturing, it has durable goods as opposed to non-durable goods, and very little financial activity. So Peoria, although it's a large city, was pretty unstable if you think back to the previous slides. So that is my data presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know in the conversation discussion area, and I'll be happy to get back with you. Hope you all have a blessed day. Thank you.